welcome to Long Story Short. I am Kijan Haynes. So we spoke yesterday about media personnel getting the vaccine, and I made sure to point out that no one skipped any lines. We are now in phase 2 of the process where essential workers are getting the vaccine. And if you don't believe me, here is the Minister of Health saying it again.
As you know, we are doing members of the media, regardless of age, because we consider them the frontline media workers.
But of course, you know how these things go. Someone is going to make an issue where there is none, and this time, well, here it is.
I have a real issue with the responsibility that journalists have in this country, and the fact that journalists in this country don't shoulder their responsibility properly, but they're in a position where they can use their position and their title as journalists and get themselves to jump the line.
You know, for all the media groups that she snuck her way into, how did she not get that memo? But I digress. Let us digest this first of all. There is a problem with saying the media, the media. The media is not some amorphous being where everyone marches to the same tune in step 1, 1, 1. That is called the PNM. Journalists are made up of a large cross-section of the population. They're different ages, sex, religion, education, experience. It runs the full gamut. But the good thing about journalism is that for every bad story, there are 3 more with better reporting that makes that one bad story just unimportant. But you at home have to actually read those and not just what falls into your WhatsApp. So let's talk about the media getting vaccinated. You want that. This is the equivalent of having cricketers endorse Omega XL. You want people to experience everything firsthand and share their experiences, as a lot of us have been doing on social media. I spoke about my experience, about the side effects here on this show as well. So now you at home, you can say, well, okay, I'm not too sure about if I want to take it, but look, Kijan took it, and he's hosting the show. He's fine. He does not have a microchip in him. It adds to a level of transparency. Now, on the flip side, I can perfectly acknowledge that we can say that bad reporting is what caused a lot of hesitancy in the first place, because we've spoken about those terrible Express editorials.
Part of the reason there is so much confusion in people's heads about vaccines, whether to take the vaccine, how to get the vaccine, who we getting the vaccine from, is as a result of irresponsible journalism.
And some of those headlines that linked Franklin Cahn's death to the vaccine, those were terrible. And at the same time, we do not endorse those. But now you at home, if you see a reporter or a certain story in a newspaper pushing this anti-vax information, you also have examples of reporters from that same media house who would have taken the vaccine and are fine. So you make your own decisions now. But now let's get into the issue of how the max vaccination centers were handled. Like anything else in Trinidad and Tobago, it started off structured and became every man for himself. And it started with Tobago. So remember, the rule was, you were over 60 with NCDs, you go on your clinic days. That happened. Then you had people just over 60. That also happened. But you know what also happened? You had a lot of people within that age group not going for their appointments or not making appointments because of something they heard on WhatsApp. So what slowly started happening was people were just saying, well, look, once this vial is cracked, I'm not going to let it go to waste. So that led to word spreading that people were taking walk-ins. Because if I, with my mother, and they're like, hey, they have an extra one here, you want it? I taken it. So that is where we ended up with people saying that they skipped the line. Now, keep in mind, this isn't endorsed by any government minister, but it isn't discouraged either. Again, everyone has to get it.
Has the policy of the vaccination changed in that people who are under 60 and who may or may not have NCDs are getting vaccinated?
The age limitation came in for persons with NCDs within our clinics or members of the public. You had to be over 60 with NCDs. To phase 2, where we started with members of parliament regardless of age. Today, as you know, we are doing members of the media regardless of age because we consider them the frontline media workers. We are doing local government practitioners regardless of age, as we said clearly. We are also doing the judiciary today regardless of age. We did yesterday members of the parliament staff regardless of age. All right? So that is where we are with phase 1 and phase 2, and I hope the age explanations clarifies the point prior.
But in a world where we don't want to waste any vaccines, at what point do we stop coddling all those over 60s who just harden? So I supposed to wait for them to get over whatever or to get the right WhatsApp message for them to figure out their business before I could get it? No. So if you want to wait and see what everybody else doing before you do it, then let other people get the vaccine. And now you're going to have to wait a little bit longer because now they're slowing down the amount of people getting the vaccine to cater for those who need the second dose.
Now, bearing in mind that we do need to keep doses in reserve for the second round of vaccination, so that everyone who has been vaccinated so far can receive their second dose of vaccines. We are beginning to wind down that first batch of vaccine distributions, bearing in mind and taking note that those who have confirmed appointments already for vaccines this week will still be accommodated.
And as we learned from Minister West yesterday, once Terence Dialsing actually listens to her and uses the ICT to make appointments next rounds, things will go even smoother.
So that the minister indicated to us that things were under control. It is only when the actual system started that we realized that there were challenges, and we have the two ministries working together to ensure that going forward, there's a smoother process. Because we have designed and are using an e-appointment system within the Ministry of Public Admin. We have rolled it out to a couple of ministries and are working on spreading it throughout the public service.
And in the end, you have to remember there are vaccines coming, and you may even have your own choice whether you want the Pfizer or the Johnson & Johnson or the AstraZeneca, because those are all of the vaccines that are scheduled to arrive into the country. In the end, it all comes down to your choice. We are not making any decisions for you. We, just like you, are just putting all the information out there, and it's up to you. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back.